Welcome to the Awaken Ireland show on TNS Radio.
Hello everybody, we're just doing a quick test to see if we have a broadcast, because we've had problems there for the last 41 and 19 seconds broadcast tonight, and we have a very special guest in here all the way from Waterford City, somebody that you might know as Slim Shady.
Good day.
Good morning to Mr. Slim Shady.
Good morning, sorry.
How are you? We've got a broadcast going on here now, and we're just going to ask the TNS Radio host group if we have a broadcast and it is working. Could you please post there now? Yes, can hear you now. We are live. Thank you very much. Live here again on TNS Radio. Slim Shady, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Very technical here. I feel like I'm in the studio of RTE or something. I feel like I want to moan about the price of potatoes or turnips or something.
Well, Mr. Shady, you need to get a little bit closer there to the microphone so everyone can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Okay. You hear me now?
Yes, Mr. Slim Shady has been an active listener of TNS Radio now for many, many, many years, and he's been just dying to get on in front of a microphone to be able to deliver some wonderful wisdom from all of his experiences through the, as he calls it, what's the land that you call it?
Wonderland.
The Wonderland. The Wonderland.
Wisdom and knowledge, James.
Wisdom and knowledge.
I don't know about that.
And Mr. Slim Shady has had many, many experiences over the last couple of years dealing with different variations of Wonderland, and he's here to be able to share his understanding and experience and knowledge of the reality of Wonderland, which is the version of commercial admiralty law that is on the land of Era and today. So you're very welcome to the show, Mr. Slim Shady.
Thanks, James. How's things with you?
Not too bad. I'm only back from the very disappointing game of soccer ball, if you want to call it that we had to experience there tonight.
I heard. I don't watch myself.
Again, you need to get closer to the mic. The mic is there in front of you, my friend. You need to speak into the microphone.
Okay.
So, Mr. Slim Shady, you know, I've known you for a few years now, and we've had many experiences together, and I've been an observer of your experiences in the Wonderland and the ups and downs and everything that in between involved with that, and all sorts of characters becoming part of your life and knocking on your door and giving you pieces of paper that you don't really recognize very much. So Would you like to talk about that a little bit, Mr. Slim Shady?
I think Wonderland. When you start in Wonderland, I think it's really when you start in school, really, isn't it? What would you think?
Sure.
It is. That's when they first throw you into Wonderland. You're brought into the school system, and then from there, you're brought down to this kind of. There's magic men in the sky. It's gone, is it? Is it gone?
I don't think it's gone. I think we're still the broadcast is still, the encoder is still happening, and the broadcast should be there. We'll keep talking anyway.
Okay, we'll keep talking.
We'll see what happens. So just keep talking there.
So yes, so they bring you into the school system, then they'll teach you about magic men in the sky, and then they'll teach you into the older schools. They'll bring you in with commerce and all that kind of stuff, and then you're thrown out into the world to deal with the system, and then that has its own Wonderland as well effect. But my trip into Wonderland with the legal side of it would have started about 8 years ago, maybe. And that happened where there was a party at the house. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but just the house was trespassed upon. And the house was trespassed upon, and the guards were called. I didn't open the door that night, and they seemed to get a bit of a bee in their bonnet about that. So it started off from there, and they hounded me ever since, and
When you mean hounded, what do you mean by that?
Well, you could be out on the street driving the car or whatever, and they'd pull up, you know, and they'd drag you out, and it might be raining or whatever. They'd make you stand in your socks, you know, this kind of crack. Now, I was completely unaware.
Stand in your socks? Did you mean take your shoes off?
Yeah.
Why would they ask to take your shoes off?
Because they're just out to hassle you and just give you a bit of grief, you know.
Well, I've never heard that before. That has to be a new one for me, Mr. Shady. I've never heard of anyone asked to take their shoes off for the general conversation on the side of the road. Yeah, that's for me. That's shocking, I have to say.
Well, this is what they do, you know. It's just basically down to annoy you, you know. So this is what they were up to. So they drummed up.
Would you believe that would be to try and break down your personality, to break down your presence as a man, or
no,
what?
not at that time, because I hadn't really had much run-ins with them as far as the sovereignty kind of thing would be. That would be kind of now, you know. This would have been.
But that won't be degrading. They're trying to degrade you.
Oh yeah, well that would have been happening to everybody. You know, it wasn't just me. This is how they behave. So I'm not saying that they were just specifically doing this to me. You know, they do it to everyone. So they drummed up a few charges. It was basically because I didn't answer the door, and they work on a shift rotation. So it's a small town where we are. So they get to know you, you know. They say, "Oh, keep an eye out." So eventually, the shift.
You basically go into a book.
Yeah.
Like a black book for people to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
okay.
Give him a bit of grief, you know. So from that, they drummed up a few charges, but I went in. I didn't come out with any fines or anything like that, or any convictions or anything like that. So that didn't go down too well with them. So that makes them a bit more determined to get you again. So one of the only things at that period that they caught me on was when the wheel tipped a yellow box junction. And now that happened, I was actually, I'd be polite on the road, so I waved out a driver. And another driver went to come out on top of him in a dirty little Peugeot. And he nearly came into the side of me, so he started effing and blinding. And I thought he was just a normal member of the public, so we got up by the traffic lights. I look back, he's still effing and blind. Then he jumps out of the car, so I thought road rage. And then he's flashing a badge. So that was one that they got me on, going in there.
So what you're saying is that it was a guard that was off duty at that time?
He was off duty.
He was off duty. He's civilian then?
Well, and not only that, he was from Dublin, would you believe? He was down for the day, but he completely made up a heap of lies. So...
When you say a heap of lies, Shady, are you talking about it in a court scenario?
Oh yeah. Well, he in that day in the car, he had there was a woman with him. I mean, that's who he was, because I could see him looking back in the mirror. He was highly offended I didn't leave him out, even though I'd left out the first car. You know, I was keeping the flow of the traffic going. So he was with a woman, and he was effing and blinding to her. But in his statement, there's no mention of a woman. There was only, he said his 5-year-old was asleep in the back seat of the car, you know. So that's complete. You're wondering, like, where's this woman, you know? You'd be wondering, was he having an affair? Why was this woman not mentioned? Like, he's clearly, there was no 5-year-old in the back of the car. He was in the car with a woman. So you can see how crooked they are. And the judge said, oh yeah, I had a driver cut me up yesterday. Bang. Whatever it was, 300-400 euros fine. And then the solicitor then at the time, he had agreed free legal aid, but he decided then to send a bill for 850, even though we had agreed it was free legal aid. But he was nice enough anyway. He let me pay that in installments of 250.
Did you engage in his contract, Mr. Shady?
Well, I didn't know nothing about nothing then. This is when I was starting to get the
things
are a bit fishy.
So
you know,
you just engaged in the contract then, not knowing you were engaging in a contract at that moment in time.
Engaging him in anything, you know.
Before we go on, was there any harm?
Was there any harm
done to anybody?
Well,
was there a
No. It was an unfortunate. It was just a quick sequence of lights, and my back wheel actually was touching, and I mean barely touching the yellow line. Now that's no reason for to be relieved of nearly €1,000 by the Law Society, but you know that's how they operate. You know, pirates. So it kind of escalated from there all through the years, and I remember any of this stuff. There's no injured party, and I'd be saying to my father, I'd be saying, how can they bring me to court? Like, I'm not harming anyone. He'd be saying it's the law of the land, and it never sat right with me.
The law of the land.
The law of the land. Yeah.
What were you thinking of that at that moment in time, Mr. Shady?
Well, I was thinking, if this is the law of the land, how are the people going along with this, where there's actually no injured parties, you know?
In your head, you were thinking.
It's not right.
So I'll stop you there for a second, right? Let's just take a breath, right? There's no injured party, right? So is that what came into your head?
Of course.
Because you didn't have any understanding of the law. Because I know that you've actually went on to study independently law and the foundation of law, common law, Brehon law, the laws of people, yeah. And then you had a look at the commercial law, and you had a look at the maritime law, and all the variations of law that have been built by men over many millennia.
Well, yeah, that's what would have kind of led me into kind of looking at that, is how men can enslave other men with words, because it's only words on paper.
Exactly, Mr. Shady.
You know, that's all it is. So there would have been a couple of summonses and stuff then outstanding. So instead of taking them, I would be dodging them, you know, or I wouldn't take.
What do you mean dodging? What do you mean ignore the summonses?
Yeah, I wouldn't sign for them, you know, or if something came, if they did manage to get one.
And why didn't you sign?
Well, why would I want to give my signature anyway?
Let's just, I'll stop you again there for a moment. Let's just have a think about that, right? So intuitively, you weren't signing, right?
No.
And you weren't signing because you felt, why should I give my power or my energy away to an entity that I do not know? I do not know these people. I haven't harmed anybody. So the question, even at that time, before you even went down the road of filling your mind with knowledge, textbooks, law books, information that was given to you by other friends that you met along the way, something was, you felt at the time, it wasn't sitting well with you, Mr. Shady. Would I be right in asking you that question? Would that be true?
Yeah, well, when you're looking at friends, it wasn't just me. Like, you look at everyone else around you in the town is go through the same. They'll get everyone into the bracket. There's no one can escape them. If a pensioner parks somewhere, they'll get them into the bracket. If a student can't pay a TV licence, they'll get them into the bracket. You cannot escape the system. It's impossible. They will get you into the bracket somehow to extract revenue off you. That's just.
So let's stop you again there. So I'm going to stop you every time you bring up something that a listener to the show might not have heard before. You're talking about extracting revenue. What do you mean by that, Mr. Shady?
Well, there's no injured parties to any of this.
What is that? Okay, so again, what does that mean? There's no injured party.
There's no harm, loss caused to any other human being. You know.
Okay.
Absolutely none. Like, if someone doesn't pay a TV, why would you need it? Why would you need a license for a TV to begin with? Why would you need a license for something?
So you're breaking it down to very simple semantics here. What we're talking about here is that we're all people, and we all live in the same land, and our ancestors, they fought a war for independence from the crown. Okay, so the question would be, if our ancestors fought a war of independence from the crown, right? If that's the reality, Mr. Shady, of how we live today, then why do we still need to acquiesce to an authority where there has not been anyone that's injured, there's been no complaint?
It's basically, again, just to extract money, but they perfected this system over hundreds of years. Yeah, if you look at the way the whole thing is set up, with going for oil, regions kept in poverty, famine, a monopoly kept on oil, diamonds, fuel, food.
Okay, you're going back to natural resources here. So, are we talking about empire?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about
this
here?
Particular system, they're very good at what they do. You know, I mean, even if you look when they came, when they supposedly leave here, you'll have two factions fighting against each other. You've got Protestants and Catholics. If you look what they do today, they do exactly the same thing. The Shia and the Sunni, they stir it up, so they make it look like they'll go or they'll leave or they whatever. But whatever before they go, they leave that division between communities. You know,
you're talking about the divide and conquer.
The crown
the Hegelian dialectic.
It's perfected. You know. So that's what they're up to as far as.
So I'll just jump in there for a second. So basically, what the elite have learned over the centuries is that the best way to control the masses of population is to divide the community into different factions, right? So that they can never be united in a common goal, because if we have two sides of the same community not being able to communicate with each other for the common good,
Yeah, exactly.
then we don't have a community, really. There is no community. There's only division. Is that what you're talking about, Shady?
That's exactly it. It's complete division, divide and conquer, and they do this worldwide. You'll see it today.
It has been done through colonization over the years.
Even if you see, recently they've got like a sad out in the news, right? How do we even know that those people were killed? They can show pictures of whatever they want on the paper. You cannot even believe now what's on the newspapers or on the TV. It's poison, toxic poison, And if
You're talking about the mass media, Shady.
Yeah.
Switch off your TVs, folks.
Switch them off. It's dirt, pure poison, except for South Park, that's all right.
South Park.
Yeah.
So satirical comedy is,
You gotta laugh, man.
Yeah.
It is the best medicine, laughter. It is. For what it's worth. But
let's go back to your experiences. I've observed you quietly at the back of the courtroom for many a session over the last year, and so as many others here in the room too. And I have to say, I had to admire your tenacity and your strength of character and your forthrightedness.
Well, I've always been nervous in front of those people, and maybe sometimes they thought I was been a bit maybe aggressive or arrogant, but it wasn't, because it's a strange. You can look at all this stuff on the internet and read about it and all that, but it's still a strange place to be when you're in front of them, when they're all in their uniforms and you've got this man in a black cape up in front of you.
Is it intimidating, Mr. Shady?
It is intimidating.
It's even stranger to see a person sitting in court and then being arrested in court.
On a number of occasions.
Yeah, that was very... it wasn't amusing at the time to watch, but when I think about it afterwards, it's like, wow, this is Comedy Central,
Yeah, absolutely. But they try and break you down. If you notice, when they were doing some of that, they were waiting until about 3 goes before they knew it was my turn, yeah?
Oh, so the whole thing was orchestrated.
Yeah,
even your placement, when you were called, and very, very unusual.
Yeah. They're trying to put you off track the whole time, Yeah. But I didn't willingly go in there, into Wonderland. They came one night and took me into Wonderland. I'd just been in the house. We were just sitting down. Actually, I was about to go into bed. It was about 10 o'clock. And
AM or PM?
PM.
Oh,
that only goes on in DBC2, is it?
Yeah.
But so there was a knock. Actually, I saw there was a cop car pulled up outside, and one of the lads had left the door.
You mean a police vehicle?
A vehicle, yeah. One of those jokes. So that pulled up outside the door. So before I could get up to lock the door, one of the lads had left it open. They were in, but they wouldn't show. You've seen the video. There's a 10-minute video of that. You've all seen that, yeah. But you see how they refused to show me any paperwork. Mm-hmm. They are not showing me. He's holding it to his chest. Under no circumstances is he showing me any paperwork.
Like Moses with the 10 Commandments.
Exactly. So as far as I'm concerned, that's an unlawful kidnapping.
Absolutely.
He wouldn't. Yeah. So that was the start of it. They took me up to the cell that night, and then they brought me down to the court the following morning. So that guy seemed nice enough. You were there, James. You seen he didn't seem very crusty or anything.
No,
he seemed all right. But they had a file there at the time. It was fairly thick. It was about an inch thick, and it was Freeman on the land. And they handed that to the judge. Because if you remember one of the later ones, I asked for that file. Yeah?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And they were, so what are you on about? And then in the consultation room, they said I had a long night in the cell. It was actually an arrest warrant, which is what, a piece of paper thin. Yeah, yet this file clearly with black bold.
Yeah.
So they must have had something down in the papers themselves that they were given to the judiciary to have a little look at. But that was the start of it. So I was passing out those cards, as you know. We all leave them around when we're going into the burger places or whatever. The cards with the TNS and corporations and all that kind of stuff on it. So I've been handing out those. So it's basically cause no harm, loss or injury. So what they did was they came and they gave me an injured party, and
They gave you an injured party?
They gave me an injured party. Yeah.
Okay.
So what they did was they sent up one of their guys, and policy enforcement man. So I'd come out of the ensuite. I was after been in going for a tiddle. So I saw him by the window, so I opened up the window. So he said, "Is so and so there?" And if I looked down, that name on that's nothing to do with me. So I said, "Hang on a minute," and I went to go close the window, and that's when he grabbed the window and threw his piece of paper in on the floor. So I jumped in one of the lads' cars and went up and just gave him back their piece of paper.
Piece of paper being a summons, an invitation, was it?
I don't know what it was. I didn't open it.
Okay, they came to serve you some form of paperwork.
Some form of paperwork. I didn't make it or anything like that, so I gave it back to the owners. So I didn't think anything more about it. And then coming up around Christmas time, they came and stuck a summons in the window saying that I'd trapped his arm in the window.
How exactly did you trap his arm in the window?
Your guess is as good as mine, but he's...
I have one question.
No one can see it here now, but we were showing it in court. You remember when you were down there?
Yeah.
He would have to cross. His injury was supposedly on his right arm, which he held the window open with because it opened out that way.
Yeah.
So for him, he would have to go crossways, but no one can see what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But
Mr. Shady, you forgot to ask one vital question that day in court, and that was, what was that member of An Garda Síochána na hÉireann doing with his arm in your window, in your bedroom window?
That's very true, but we're going into the circuit court with that, so that'll be asked in there.
Is that not an invasion of privacy?
Oh yeah, it
your
is.
Bedroom window?
Well, of course it is, but you have to remember, although the courts and judiciary like to seem that they're apart, they're actually not. They're actually linked. Yeah.
Linked to what exactly?
They're linked to each other. Yeah. You can you got to remember, right? Maybe in the bigger places like Dublin and Belfast and all these places. New York, whatever, these guys don't really know each other, but in these smaller places like Kilkenny, Wexford, Waterford and that, all these guys have a very close working relationship with each other.
The solicitors, the bankers, the insurance companies, would you be so bold as to say they might be part of a Masons Lodge here in Waterford?
Well, that's something I've been wondering, because we went up to Gardai Courthouse and we saw how close the Masons Lodge was to the new court complex, and that's a pretty...
Because they knocked everything else, they actually flattened the land.
They did.
Mr. Shady, I actually worked in a previous life on that land.
Right.
I provided the geotextiles for the ground there.
In a previous life?
In a previous life, when I was working in a different world.
Oh, maybe 5 years ago.
All right.
In a different reality.
I was just going to ask him to pass the crack pipe there, but there's no crack going, no? Okay, sorry, okay.
He doesn't mean a previous incarnation, Mr. Shady, just a previous...
I apologise for the guest here tonight. He has a very, very, very bad opinion of me. What can I say? I was talking about a previous an employment relationship I had with a corporation, Mr. Shady.
Right. So it was up that end of the woods, it was?
It was that I engaged in contract with a particular corporation who provided me employment under the Provisional Government of Ireland rules.
Right.
And that's what I did.
So how come they let up that little grubby building and that little Mason's Lodge where they have that?
It's very, very Damien-like, isn't it? With the the omen. It's what can you say? It's like they level everything else. It's like a firestorm that levels everything in your viewpoint, and what is left standing is a Gothic type dark building, and that's pretty much what you have left there.
Well, it's a snazzy building. they put a lot of money into that building, you know. And even if you look at the one down in Waterford, it's directly next door to the Masons Lodge. So
yes.
I'd be just wondering, just out of curiosity for myself, is there anyone else that knows around Ireland, are the Mason Lodges located close to court?
Close to courthouses, yeah.
are they just, two coincidences,
I don't think they are, Mr. Shady. I think that what we have is a symbiotic relationship between Masonry and the court systems that are in this country. Because you have to remember, right, that the court systems that were left here after the War of Independence were Crown Courts. They never left, you see, because if you know your history, that you understand that they only had 2 weeks left of ammunition during the War of Independence, and that they were basically told by the might of the British Empire that if you do not cease and desist from your rebellion, that you will have the full force of the British Empire that will crush you like a fly. And that was the message that was given to Michael Collins and the rest of the delegates that came over from Ireland that spent a couple of months in London negotiating with the elite of the British Empire. And that's what you had, right? So if you have to look at it from their point of view, now what decisions could they have made? What were their choices? If you look back and try and put yourself, Mr. Shady, in their shoes, right? They had a very tough decision to make. Now, if you don't allow our law system and our economic system, basically our systems of complete dominance and control that are behind the scenes to flourish still amongst your population, if you do not allow that, we will destroy you.
Yeah, that is a very tough decision. But you got to get down to it's the soldiers then. It's the soldiers, and it's the same in Iraq and that today, right? It's men been manipulated. If they're saying, right, we're going to wipe you out, right? It's the men that are following the orders that are fucking zombified.
The status quo.
They're zombified, yeah? The same with Iran and Iraq today. They're zombified. They think they're in some kind of patriotic bubble that they're bringing peace to the world,
Yeah.
It's down to those other... If everyone had... You'd have to wonder as well, why do people go into the army?
Yeah.
Is it because they need the money? I know, like, there's always going to be some psychopaths, right, who want to kill people that are going to go into the army, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at some of the videos up on YouTube, you'll see him targeting the areas today to get recruitments. You'll see him going into the poor black areas.
Yeah.
You'll also see him with the containers with the Xbox games,
Yeah.
Medal of Honor and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And that gets them out. So if troops, if no one if everyone had enough, they were not going to go and fight.
Yeah.
They'll stay with their family.
You're talking about a necessity for a want,
well, yeah, if you
right? To be able to provide for your immediate family and yourself, and if you had enough just to survive and to live a normal life and not to want to have to grab for a necessity or whatever.
Well, exactly like you were saying, some of those British soldiers that had come to wipe out the Irish, he could have 3 children at home, 4 children at home. He might not want to come and wipe out the Irish, but he has to defeat his own. It's crackers. And when you look then who's behind it and who funds all these, then it leads back to the same families over generations, So it's all it's messed up,
You're talking about what has always come before, Mr. Shady. What we've always had, and what people understand is what we've always had is a aristocracy that controlled everything in a pyramidal structure where the power is at the top and that the control feeds down from the top right down through every single level of humanity. And that it's always been that way. It's never been any other way.
Well, looking at all this stuff, right? People come up with different answers. It's UFOs, or it's lizards, or it's something, But I like to keep things more down on an earthly level, right? And
sure, I'm the same.
The
way
I look at it, we're on a fucking slave planet, man. We are on a fucking slave planet because if you look, I think they perform cults every so often, right? We might even be heading.
Who's they?
These controllers, call them whatever you are, secret societies, fucking Masons, whatever you want.
The psychopathic elites, basically.
Psychopathic elite, man, yeah. And I think they've always hidden...
Who are clutching desperately onto the little bit of power they think they have.
Well...
Their empires.
What I was saying is, do they perform a cull at some stages? Because I mean, if you look back, you've got these.
Well, there's been many, hasn't there? They're culling constantly around the world, actually.
Well,
when you look at it.
Well, I think that our history goes back much further than what we think. You know.
Absolutely.
Especially like, even if you look at say some of the blocks with the pyramids and all that, we can't do that, right? But yet. That technology didn't slip with us through us into the ages. The technology like
metallurgy
and
did
getting the ore, that's a hard graft.
Yeah,
to get that up.
Like to even realise that's in the earth first.
Yeah, and to bring it through its processes,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And bring that out. That is a slave process. That's hard graft, right?
Well, it's invisible. It's something you can't see. It's not like taking a tree and making a chair out of it.
Yeah.
Because you can see the tree, you can see the timber, you know, and you know what you can do with it. But when you look at the ground, all you see is grass and earth. You don't realise, hey, there's all sorts of minerals and elements and stuff down there.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that was given to be taken down through the ages, and it's hard graft and it takes up time, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if there had been the technology, like those blocks that were moved into some of those ancient structures around the world, they were moved because they were easy to move, you know. But yet that's
sorry, Aaron, Mr. Shady, I just have to interrupt you there for a second. The Ram just made an excellent comment, and he says the X Factor is a cull. Welcome to 2012. It's looking like it, dude. But we're keeping our heads up, and we're focused on other things at the moment. You know, forget about all that Olympic 2012 stuff and sorry, excuse me, Mr. Shady.
All distractions, you know, all the football, all the fucking.
Oh, it started today, didn't it? For Ireland,
yeah. It did, yeah.
First of all comes austerity. And then, here's a big distraction just to keep you occupied for the next 2 weeks.
There's planes fucking putting poison out of the sky. There's fluoride in the water. There's armies waging war across the earth, you know. But
there's
no one seems to give a shit.
Nuclear power plants lying open.
That's right, with fucking radiation going all over the place. But no one seems to give a crap because they're all waving flags and shit.
Yeah.
You know, so.
We're all stuck in this fantasy world, aren't we?
Yeah.
Fiction, paper, currency, banks,
well, I think
bailouts.
We're in a fucking giant mental asylum floating through space, man.
Absolutely. Solar driftwood. We're on a piece of solar driftwood. Yeah. Are we actually intelligent? That is the question, you know.
Yeah.
We think a lot of ourselves, but at the end of the day, if you look at us as a race, we're actually, it's ridiculously stupid.
Oh no, I think we're very clever, but we're easily manipulated. Yeah, we are.
I'm with you on that one, man. Yeah, no, you're bang on the money. Yeah. We have the most incredible ability to snap out of the blizzard of unreality that we're actually living in from day to day. We have such an opportunity right now, right? And the more crap that's piled on top of us, right? The more the depth of it, the weight of it, right, that is on your shoulders and pushing you down, right? The more you have of that, the more you're going to start going, hold on a second now, I don't like this interference. You know, what's going on? We need to kind of go, shake it off and go, I don't like that weight on my shoulders. I don't like that blockage to my fucking, to my own version of what reality should be. You know, I want to live and I want to like living. I don't want to have to wake up in the morning and not look forward to the day. I want to experience life. I want to meet nice people, have a good time as best as I can. You know, I don't want to have to wake up in fear every day and to wonder where is the next meal going to come from? How am I going to pay the insurance? How am I going to pay the ESB bill? You don't want that, Shady. You don't want that.
Well, from the minute. From when you're born, or actually when you probably come 18 and that, right? What is it? It's from the time you reach the box after that, you just have to produce money for this system.
The box, I like that idea. That's interesting.
Well, it's a coffin
the
box.
box. Coffin box.
The coffin box, yeah. By the time you reach that coffin box, you've got to produce as much fucking...
No, I'm just going to stop. Explain exactly what you mean by the coffin box in your head. Why did you come up with that analogy for adulthood?
Well, because that's where you're heading, right? There's no one can stop the fact that they're going to die. You know, you're heading into a box, but
right. So right,
you're on a journey, right?
Okay.
Your journey is like that.
So
arrow
it's an inevitable
Yeah.
reality. You're
Yeah.
going to end up in a box one. That's what you're talking
That's
about.
it. So what should be a pleasurable, enjoyable experience is not, because you've got to produce money. If you want to get into a car, you've got to have tax, insurance,
NCT.
You've got all these things. You've got house insurance. The price of food is rising. Everything is designed to give you the most miserable fucking experience you can have here on this place. You know, it's just designed that way. You know, and who's designing it? It's all to do with this paper shit.
So what you're saying is, Shady, is that we actually could have a better reality.
Yeah, of course.
Tell me, explain to me what your version of a better reality will be.
Well,
what's your vision of it?
It's not going to be any kind of supervision like it's really going to be down to communities getting back to each other. It has to get back to the communities, you know.
Yeah.
It can't be any other way. The small shops have been priced out of the market by the larger stores and that, you know. That's all done on purpose. People think that these shops are in competition with each other. They're not in competition with each other. When I was in college in first year, we were doing marketing, and they were saying Tesco and say Super Quinn and the other kind of big ones that were here, they'd be operating in a profit margin of about 19 to 21%, always in about 3% of each other, because they have that silent agreement between themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
They meet up behind the scenes and they just, say this
so they know they're not really stepping on each other's toes, right? So along then come into the market, say Aldi and Lidl, and they're operating on profit margins of about 10%. So they start to undercut the bollocks out of them, right? But they're still all of them. Now, the Aldi and Tesco have gone up now, but they're still all part of the system. They're all designed to disempower the community.
Yeah.
You know, to scatter the community.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what it has to get back to. You know, I mean, people can say, right, there might be radiation in the skies, there might be fucking oil in the sea, but I mean, we're in the game now. If we don't try,
we've become dependent, basically.
We have, but we have to start moving away from that.
Yeah, exactly.
Coming back away from it and getting back to each other, you know.
Well, we've started with growing our own vegetables and stuff like that.
That's it. Positive solutions for each of us are growing different kind of things, which will all swap around, you know, and you're going to be looking at alternate power sources and stuff coming up during the year. So there's stuff there to do, you know, rather than just sit and moan about it.
Sure,
you know,
we're looking constantly for solutions.
The thing about it is you'll see what's grown, you can see results, you know, as you start to put together these devices and that, you'll see them come to fruit, like, you know. So you'll see a reward for whatever is going on, you know.
Absolutely. Back in the hot seat again.
You're back in the hot seat. So, yeah, but that's what it's got to get back to. We also need some kind of interest-free currency, you know.
A debt-free currency,
a debt-free currency, yeah, because what's going on is crippling. You know?
Interest-free.
It's crippling worldwide, and the ones who are doing this, they don't need money. They don't need money. They fucking control the printing presses, so it's nothing about money.
Well, it's only paper, isn't it?
Yeah, it's enslavement, man. Yeah. It's complete enslavement.
Fiction, the world of fiction.
Yeah.
I grew up in this country, and I was here until I was 22, and then I left and I came back actually last year, and as a kid I didn't think anything grew here.
Why?
Would you believe that?
All the green fields?
Well, I thought it was too cold. I thought Europe was a lot, warmer and a better climate, and things didn't grow here. The only thing we could have were nettles and green fields and cows, you know.
Yeah.
And then you realise years later, hang on, most stuff grows here that we grow in Europe.
And even stuff that's edible that you wouldn't even think is edible. You know, if you get yourself a good survival book and it has like colour pictures and stuff, it'll tell you what's edible around the different regions.
Pissy beds, for example.
Right.
Do you know that saying? In Ireland, pissy beds. Yeah. Like, who's going to eat a pissy bed? Nobody. It's actually a dandelion. It's a delicacy in a salad.
Yeah.
Americans pay top dollar for it, Europeans too. It's about €16 a kilo.
Whoa.
You know?
Right.
And we walk past it like, I wouldn't eat that. That's, That's what dogs use as a, as a toilet.
Well, I've had it before. It's actually quite nice. There's a guy I know. My sister was going out with him, but he made it into a salad, so it's all right.
Yeah. With so many possibilities here. So much wasted resources that we could actually harness, biogas systems and alternative energy sources that we've just ignored because, the ESB has made life easy for us.
Well, there was an article up a while ago. They wouldn't release what they're buying in the power for, because they said it was against consumer
not in their interest.
So they're buying that shit in for pittance.
Yeah, for about a tenth of a cent per kilowatt, and they're selling it to us for 17 cent plus VAT. So we're paying around 20 cent a kilowatt for electricity.
It's not a rip-off. Gas and electricity should be either free or very lowly priced, just to keep those machines running. For the people.
Absolutely, it shouldn't be profit based.
Exactly. The world should be run for the benefit of the people, but not the way they've turned it into. Whereas the public servants have become like the overlords. They're not even masters because they're cruel. They're cruel in what they do,
Yeah. But people will say to you, Aaron, nobody deserves a life. You have to go out there and get it for yourself.
No.
That's what, that's the indoctrination. Nobody deserves a life.
No, that's moving away from humanity.
Isn't it? Absolutely, yeah.
You have
but I've heard that so often.
Yeah. You have that givenness inside you as a human anyway. So, you just have to nurture it and,
yeah,
spread it on, like I said, back to the communities. That's spreading that out,
Exactly, and accept people for what they are.
Yeah.
And I mean, everybody, no matter how ignorant or stupid you perceive them, has a spark of genius in them. Everybody.
Yeah, but
everybody's got something to offer.
That's taken out of them in school, though.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's completely de-educated. They're de-educated in the schools.
Indoctrinated, more
taught how to run in this
how
system,
to behave.
Yeah.
They're actually they're programs.
Yeah,
you're given programs to follow.
Well,
there are a certain amount of programs.
Did they ever teach about fractional reserve in commerce?
Never.
No, of course they're not going to. But yet you had to do your commerce classes and you had to get 40 or above, or you were going to fail.
That's right.
You know, so you're constantly swimming in this current, but they don't teach you how to swim outside it. That's never.
Very true. Let's take a quick break here because this could be a lot for people listening. We've been talking for ages here, and things didn't get off to a good start this evening. We had a lot of technical difficulties. This whole lot is quite new to me as well. So, Maestro, play some music there, and we'll give people a break. And we'll be back to you in a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes. So, thanks very much for listening in there, folks. Awaken Ireland here on the TNS radio show. We got Mr. Slim Shady here, making a special appearance in our studio here in Lemuria, the southeast of...
4.5 grand per special appearance.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what I was charging that inspector, so you're not any different.
Okay, so you mean you're going to send me a bill for this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you'll get a nice little letter back. Document and verify the obligation for me, the man, to pay such a bill. Yeah, listen, thanks very much for coming on tonight. It's fantastic to hear some of your story. We're going to actually, I'd love to get you on again very, very soon to hear some more from you, some more tales from Wonderland.
Even if you watch how these guys operate, right, you'll see when they're going to district, and you've seen it with that guy, we won't mention his name, but you know who I'm on about, the fella in the black robe, that got moved off recently.
Oh yes,
he's fairly strict. So what they do, if one guy is giving out say 800 fines.
Are we talking about bankers here? People who balance the books.
Bankers that dress like Christian brothers. Yeah,
they call them they wear Genevas. They're called. They wear black Genevas.
That's them guys.
Yeah.
I just looking at the way they operate, I think they move them around. So if someone's been pretty harsh in one district, so say he's lashing out fines that people can't afford, and they'd rather do the few nights in prison for that.
Oh, which means that the revenue doesn't actually flow.
Exactly. Well, they're definitely getting something off putting you in prison. There's something they're up to with that. Yeah. But they're not actually getting the whatever they find you 800. So they move off those guys, and they might bring in another guy that might be maybe 300.
Is it possible that they're plundering your bond when they have you in their
I haven't a clue, but they're up to whatever they're up to is devious anyway. Yeah,
it is sinister. Yeah,
sinister. Yeah, too right it is. You know.
I know somebody who got a knock on his door on a Thursday evening, and it was two local Gardai Síochána na hÉireann, and they said, "Listen, you got a fine here that hasn't been paid. If you don't pay it until tomorrow evening, we're going to have to come and pick you up and bring you down to Cork Prison to spend the night. But listen, we recommend that you just relax. We'll take you down to Cork. You'll be kept for the night. You'll get your bus fare home on, I think, 140 for your days inconvenience or something ridiculous like that, and your fine is finished." They actually suggested that he go and spend the night in Cork instead of paying the fine. Now, there's something going on there, right?
There's something going on there. And what are they fucking up to? What are they up to, like?
Yeah, I reckon they're plundering your bond,
they
to
must
be
be
honest.
up to something. Yeah. If there even is one of those.
If there is a bond.
How do we even know that there is? But there's something shady going on there. Yeah, definitely something shady going on with those people.
You know, the currency is flowing while this is happening. Otherwise, it wouldn't be done, would it?
No.
Yeah.
Well, they can be quite full on, as you know.
Really?
Yeah. What was it? 2 weeks ago, where you remember you were in the house. What happened? Yeah.
Oh
Where they pull up for fucking 12 minutes outside the house.
My car was scrutinised.
Yeah. And the only thing that got rid of them then was a fucking ombudsman form.
That's right. Hello. Would you like to identify yourselves and fill this out?
Exactly. That's something I recommend anyone have on them as well. It's just, it's just handy to have one of these forms printed out off the internet. And if they do come up to you, what's your reason for talking to me?
That's the ombudsman complaint form you're talking about.
You can download it off the internet and just say, will you write your name, your badge number, and your reason for stopping me down on this,
It's like garlic to a vampire, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Those guys went off after the 12 minutes when they were, 12 minutes outside the door, and they knew they were fucking filmed as well, and they show you how cheeky they are, that they still remain, so...
You know that old American Express ad, don't leave home without it?
Yeah.
Well, I use that now for the Constitution,
Yeah.
And the Ombudsman form.
Yeah, the Constitution, the camera, and the Ombudsman form. Don't leave home without them, Yeah, too right. But, I have a couple of videos, but I never really put that up on the internet.
Aaron, I'll just jump in there for a second, right? Before the advent of the Second World War, right, that the Nazi Party, they managed to get the love of the population over so many years through breaking down opposition, right, and slowly bringing in a police state, very, very slowly for civil society and for the betterment of society and for to reduce crime. And then they made all of these promises over the years, and it all sounded lovely and gorgeous, and before they knew it, they were living in tyranny, right? And this is what we're seeing in the modern world. We're seeing it in America. We're now seeing it in Europe through all the treaties, right? In America, it's more documented that they shut down civil liberties through amendments to bills. Passing certain acts like the Patriot Act, that sort of stuff, to shut down the liberties of the people, right? We're seeing the same thing now in Europe, and they're doing it very, very cleverly through dreaming up documents in legalese that the average man, they really don't have any hope of grasping or understanding. It's written in such a convoluted way, they're so boring and so unintelligent to their own ears that they just don't, what's your options? You can't engage in that.
Well, who tells you that these things are good? Who persuades the public that these things are good? It's the fucking media, man. It's that those rag toilet papers that they call newspapers. They convince you that all these bills are good.
Sorry, I'm going to pull you up there now, Mr. Shady. Why do you call the papers rags? Why would you have that
they're
opinion?
a complete manipulation of the human mind, They'll tell you what to think. They'll tell you what fucking dictators are in fashion, out of fashion, which ones need to be killed, which ones don't. Yeah? That's what the media does. It's a fucking whore.
Okay.
Sorry for the language there.
Yeah, we have to apologise on behalf of all of the families out there that are listening to this over their breakfast cereal. I have to apologise for Mr. Shady's bad language here. He's going to promise to behave and to speak in a fashion that's more appropriate for midnight hours.
Luckily, it's not a breakfast time show here, folks. Mr. Shady, will you stay on the microphone? I heard you're as bad as Harry there for wandering back and forward. Your voice is low and high and low and high. Just
all right. I've had a couple of Pepsis there, so I'm kind of wandering backwards and forwards towards the microphone. But I'll try and.
You shouldn't be doing advertisement here for corporations.
Shit, man. Fuck.
Yeah, you don't drink that stuff, I hope.
No.
Good. Water, fresh water. There's no patent on that yet, is there?
No, there's definitely something in that water because I'm wobbling backwards and forwards from the microphone.
So, Mr. Shady, I'm going to ask you to pull back into Wonderland there just for a moment, okay?
Right.
I'm going to ask you to, before we sign off, and I know you want to, you're so, wanting to go to sleep right now, but before you go, I just want to ask you to go back into the Wonderland there again, and just to step people through your experience of stepping into the courts and observing the behaviour of all the different levels of the court. When you walk in, you have yourself in a gallery behind, and what you have in the front few benches are the solicitors and the DPP, and then you have the different clerks in the court as well. You have the junior clerk, the senior clerk, and at the highest level then you have the man in black cloth.
Yeah.
So can you just give people, yeah, the man in black, just give people a little a synopsis of what's going on in your head when you walk in the court. One of the ladies from Cork beautifully put it that you're like a prize fighter ready to get into the ring before you start speaking. Of one stage was a lovely lady from Cork.
Well,
I don't know who you're talking about there, James.
I do, but I'm not going to mention her name on there. Anyway, go on.
Well, I was very nervous the first few times. I've kind of lost that now a little bit, but I'm always nervous. You could not be standing in front of those people and not be nervous, But it's just like someone if to say, telling you how to drive a car, you got to go and see how you got to drive that car yourself. So saying stuff like civil and criminal, you got to be prepared for their reaction back at you.
Oh, absolutely. And I've seen it.
You can watch whatever you want up on the internet, but you've got to see what they're going to say and what way they're going to try and fucking.
I've had it myself in front of a judge.
Exactly.
I said, "Is this civil or criminal?"
Yeah.
And he said, "It's a parking ticket."
Yeah. So you see, they're always trying to. It's
my
like
jaw dropped, and then he got jurisdiction over me.
Yeah, it's like a game of mind chess. That's what you're playing. You're playing fucking mind chess with them,
Yeah.
So
word tennis.
Yeah. So I decided to grant jurisdiction on the drummed up assault charge, just to see what had happened. So that was interesting in itself. You were there last week, and you seen what happened. And
I would love to see somebody actually going to court and charging somebody with an assault and claiming that they had their arm in the bedroom window of that person's house while they were assaulted, and see what the outcome in the court would be. Actually,
well, I
don't think you'd have a leg to stand on, would you?
If you remember, they pulled witnesses. That guy was on his own, but they pulled witnesses out of nowhere, and as you know, there wasn't any there. So when the witnesses were brought into the stand, it was put to them that they were 8 feet away.
That's right.
There's an apparent commotion going on. There's a guy with his arm trapped in the window. Did you see it? No. You're a trained Gardai. You're not trained to observe and all that. Did you see it? No. Each one of them, no. They didn't even have... even if you're going in there and you're doing civil or criminal, it's no harm as well to get a Gary Doyle order. You can always... Because it's a fresh day. Each time you go into that court, it's a fresh day. So if you ask for a Gary Doyle order first, at least you can kind of see what kind of lies they're going to spread against you.
A Gary Doyle order is full disclosure for people who don't know.
Full disclosure order. So you can always get that, but you can always do civil and criminal going in the next time if that's what you want. But you can see what they're going to say about you and what shit they're drumming up,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mr. Shady, anything else you want to add to the interview that you've had tonight?
Yeah, don't go to court. Yeah, that's it.
And the reasons why you don't go to court is?
Well, it's all of in game, you know. It's they just want to keep commerce flowing. They're not going to stop up commerce for whatever you have to say, you know. But you can always keep going higher as well. So we're going to go into the civil court or into the circus. We're going to get the statute wheel out. Roll up, play the great statute game. Yeah, see what happens. Spin it and win. Yeah. So we'll see what happens, because it's an experience even doing it itself, you know, because you can see how when we were first down there, you see how nasty they were to us, you know. But you can see them now that they've lost that nastiness.
Their tune has changed quite a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, they're treating us as human beings. Before they were kind of looking at us as we're coming in, you know.
Would you like to make a quick comment on what that chief clerk in a certain courthouse said to you, or responded to you when you confronted him with the basically that, you know, no man or woman is obliged to pay
well, there was a smirk,
a fixed notice,
we won't go into too much
penalty,
detail,
or whatever they're
to
called.
us now, so we'll get on a name and shame campaign later on, John.
Right.
You know, I mean, this is where this is all got to go back to, I think, as well. You know, you could get out with a camera, like what Ben Gilroy is doing, and he's filming those. He approached these people out in the street, these DPPs and all that.
I had mine taken off me though.
You had your oh, that's right.
And all the data removed from
right,
it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Down and down the court, he whipped it off you there.
That's right.
But
and it wasn't even in the courtroom.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
But
and since
they
then,
did say as long as we're not filmed, they're going to be all right to us now, and they have kind of
their tune has changed slightly.
They have stuck to there. They've been very nice to us in the past while, and they've been helping us out with forms and that. You know, I know it's venturing into Wonderland with them, but you know, at least
is it maybe a case of good cop, bad cop?
I think it could be a bit of that. I think very much so.
Just to
I also might think they know that the game at some stage is actually fucking.
The game is over. The cat's out of the bag,
basically.
Exactly.
They can't put it back in.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So I think that could be another reason why they're being nice to us, because I think it's not just about people going in and trying to tackle them with their own language. I mean, going around to courthouses and seeing some of the lads as well defending themselves. You see people who have no knowledge of defending themselves blankly telling them, I cannot afford to pay this fine, it's 500. Okay, you got to pay 200 per month, I cannot do that. And they're standing there and they're standing their ground and they're saying, I cannot pay this. I mean, there was one guy, you remember that guy up in Gorey, James? Yeah, he did.
Very good, yeah.
He did brilliant. He stood there for about 5 minutes arguing with him over the price of what he was charging him, and he got a right down till he just was there. I have children, I can't afford it.
Yeah.
And he got it down to, I think it was about €15 a month or something.
He stood in the sovereignty.
He did, but
he
not
did.
knowing what
he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah,
he just instinctively did it anyway.
Yeah, it was an instinct to him.
Instinct.
It was an instinct to him. He had children. He had a wife, you know.
Yeah.
And what the man was trying to charge him was he couldn't afford it. He wouldn't, and he
Can
wasn't.
I tell a story about Barry Callahan? Yeah. Just in relation to that, you haven't met Barry Callahan, yeah? Barry Callahan, as he calls himself, he was a raging capitalist. That's what Barry Callahan was. And Barry Callahan had numerous pubs around Dublin, and he ran them, and as a businessman would, and things went pear-shaped, and he had a very good relationship with banks over the years, and so he thought, and he told his wife, don't worry about the house, don't worry about all the things that we have a good relationship with the banks, so, you know, let's negotiate with the banks. And what happened was that when he went to negotiate with the banks, that the relationship wasn't there. The relationship they thought with the banks there, it wasn't there, Shady, and he ended up having to go and learn about how the people in the court system work and how they operate. And he went in there and he got burnt a couple of times. He lost pretty much all his money, Shady, and he eventually learned how to. At the end of it, he learned how to stand in his own sovereignty in the courtroom. He learned.
It's, I don't know, what way can you put it? If we're all really, really sovereign, what gives them the right? What gives them the right to have jurisdiction over you through words? If we're all truly sovereign, what gives them the right to have something wrote down on a bit of paper saying they have some kind of jurisdiction over you? you know. They don't. Why have we been immersed in this game?
That's a very good question.
You know, well, why?
Because we haven't known any better since we've been born. We've been indoctrinated into that way of thinking.
But if they're any decent human beings, how can you enslave? How could you don one of those black robes and do and
You're misunderstanding the position, Shady, right? You're misunderstanding where they're coming from. If you're born into wealth, all you understand and all you know is wealth. That is your stance. And in their mind and their sovereignty is, well, we are above everybody else below us because we have most of the wealth. We control everything through wealth.
But that's not going along the laws of natural nature.
No, it's not, but they don't live in those laws.
It's moving outside of that, you know.
Yeah, but they don't live in those laws. That's the point. They don't live. They are groomed from a very early age. A majority of the population, over 95% of the population, goes to public schools, right? The 5% that go to the private schools, they learn how to debate, right? They learn how to stand alone and be powerful alone in their own sovereignty. That's what they understand. That's the way they're taught. After the defeat in Prussia against Napoleon, that they actually sat back and went, why did we lose that war? And what they came to the conclusion was that the French had the cohesiveness of the same mind in warfare, and that our own soldiers, they weren't acting as cohesive group, they were acting as individuals, and that's why we lost the war. So they actually then created a schooling system where you brought in the majority into a class with one teacher, right? And they were told to sit down, shut up, and listen, and do not have a critical mind on anything that is going into your head.
That's where your first steps into Wonderland actually begin, is in with the school system. You know, that's your first step into Wonderland. You know, your 3, 4, and even the way they've broken up the family now. You know, the children are taken out of the homes at even an earlier age into these play schools. You know, the parents with the money the way it is, they both of them have to go out and work. You know, it's completely contrived, controlled breakup of the family unit. You know, it's disgraceful. You know.
Absolutely, and that's another topic. We could continue this discussion for hours, actually. There's so much more we could actually go into and talk about, and I'd love to at some stage with you, actually, Mr. Shady. Now we're going to take a quick break. Have we got time for that Aidan Killian interview?
Of course.
Yeah? Okay, we'll do that as well. We'll take a quick break, play you some music, folks, and then we'll have an update with Aidan Killian. And we'll see you then in a couple of minutes. So, and now, folks, where is it? Here. Have a listen to our funny man and wonderful person, Mr. Aidan Killian.
Aidan, how the hell are you?
Hello, I'm great. I'm living life. I'm loving life. How are you, my friend?
I'm not too bad. What's the crack with you, man?
Not too bad. You're better than that. The crack is mighty. The world is happy. What a great result we got. We got the result. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm so excited about it.
What? Well, you know, first I was a little bit sad because I was thinking, oh no, we didn't win. But then, if you look at it, we actually did win, because it was a 60% yes of the people who voted. So they say, if that's true, let's presume it is. That means, but only half the people who can vote in the country voted.
Okay.
Only half the people voted who are able to vote.
What does that say to you?
People aren't able to vote, so that means only 30% of people thought it was worth doing. 30% of the country agreed with it, and then if you include 30% of the people can vote, and if you include the other people, that's more like, I don't know, probably 20%. So 1 in 5 people thought it was a good idea, but that's a ridiculous concept. 1 in 5 people don't run this sovereign democratic republic country, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
So the system itself is crumbling. It's kind of falling down like the Berlin Wall. It's crumbling like a digestive biscuit in a cup of hot tea. You know, like what happens if only 100 people in the whole country vote? Does that mean it's still valid? What happens if only one person votes? What happens if you're the only voter, James? You're the only person who turns up. Does that mean you get to dictate the country?
Well, according to the powers that be, yeah, I suppose so.
Well, I think that'd be great. Why don't we just make you the only voter and then see what happens then?
You write up the next referendum idea and I'll vote on it. How about that?
Okay, all right. Should everybody get a free digestive biscuit and a cup of tea to stick it into to watch the system crumble? Yes or no?
Well, you can just write some legislation
that was kind of
to.
heartening, you know, because I think that people realise that there's no point in voting anymore because the system's not working in our favour. So what's the point? So let the system erode, or more better, let it evolve into what it's going to be. Whatever happens next, hopefully it's fair, you know, just.
Yeah.
Fun.
But sure, come here. I look at this referendum as a good thing because I mean I think the whole thing was fixed, and the people that voted no are going to go. Hold on a second. How did Reuters, you know, why did they flash up the result like a day before it actually happened, or the votes were counted? Did you see that?
Well, it's very easy to do because the Sunday Independent already told us it's a yes on Sunday, a few days beforehand. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I know. It's to have these abilities of prophecy. It's fantastic. Reuters and the Independent, yeah.
That's brilliant. That's incredible stuff. That's kind of like the way the World Trade Center Tower number 7 was predicted by the BBC 20 minutes before it happened. That's incredible.
It's very similar, yeah.
Amazing how people can do stuff like that.
I know. I'm very excited about the prophecy ability of the government and the papers and in the country now. It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should pay more attention to the newspapers in future because they seem to know everything.
They're predicting the future. It's great.
Oh man, I can predict the future and it's looking good. It's looking good. Life is good.
The way I look at Aidan is this, right? I mean, everyone I've spoken to, there's only one person that actually voted yes. Of all the people I know, I asked everybody, and one person I know, out of over about 50 people I asked, only one person said they voted yes. So, you know, those odds are very, very short on the yes, if you take that as a segment of the population. So, it's strange. It's very strange. 60-40, it's, whoa, you know.
As far as I asked a lot of people in comedy clubs. So I would have asked a few hundred, and very, very few were saying they're voting yes. Mm-hmm. Maybe less than 5%. But you know, my granny was a yes voter, and I think a lot of people her age, you know, because they're afraid that they might lose their pension, and you know they believe in the system because the system's all they know.
All they know, yeah.
So I think, you know, I think it's probably a lot higher with the elderly, the older people in the country, as far as I can see. But I don't know if that makes up, you know, 60% of the voting electorate. Maybe it does. Who knows?
So come here, tell me if you got an idea about are you going to take a spin around the country, Aidan, on your motorbike and get to know the Irish people?
Yeah, I was telling you that. I'm really excited. I'm going to do a tour in September. I'm going to come through Wicklow. I'm going to go through Wexford, and then I'm going to pop into Waterford. I'm going to hang out in different places. I'm going to put up a blog, and I'm going to invite people to show me. I think I'm going to call it "What's So Great About Ireland." And I'm going to go to all the great places in Ireland and do little minute skits on, you know, what's beautiful about this country and why we should be so happy to be here, you know, part of this great island, you know, which has, you know, such culture and heritage and, you know, such beauty and you know, I mean, I'm so lucky to be Irish. I mean, the whole world associates with the Irish everywhere, you know, everybody, you never hear, you know the way if you go abroad and you say you're Irish, people are kind of relieved. You know, mainly because you're not English. But so I'm going to do a tour.
What do you think that is?
Do you think it's stay in their house and show me what's great about Ireland in September? I'm in anywhere.
What do you think that is, Aidan? Do you think it's based on the fact that history and rule of law is based on honour rather than deception and lies? Might it be something to do with that?
You're talking about the ancient way things were done in Ireland, the councils with the high kings.
The honour status that they live by. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's exactly the type of thing I want to look into, learn more about it and highlight it. And you know, by the end of my tour of Ireland, then I'll do a whole new show, and then I'll tour the actual show. But for the first time, I'm just going to learn. I'm going to relearn about it. I'm going to actually not relearn. I'm going to learn the truths about this country and share it with the country and beyond through the means of laughter. You know, that's my new project. I'm really excited about it.
I look forward to you doing that because there's so much hidden history there you've no idea about. You know what I mean?
Well, you're going to be one of my first teachers, I'm hoping. Will you take me out to some cool places?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, no problem at all.
Around Waterford, all right, good. That's good. I've got one person in so far. So, come here. I'm having you know, Minister Phil Hogan there. I asked him how's he going to. Well, I asked him, but another guy, Tony Keogh, answers his emails for him, and he was answering my emails. I asked him how he's going to enforce this new tax. You know, the water tax.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
And he said, but he keeps calling me Mr. Killian. I mean, these emails have been going on a while, and basically I'm looking for them to pay me for the filter I put in my house. I put in a filter. I already have one filter, but I got an extra one because I don't like fluoride. I don't like putting poison in my water.
Sure, yeah.
And I informed him that it's poison, and it's not because he was kind of pawning me off to the health minister or something. And I said, well, hang on a second. This isn't medicinal. This isn't defined as a medicine. It's a poison. And I'm removing it, and you're talking about a water charge, so I want you to pay this amount of money. But he doesn't even want to pay it yet. But he kept calling me Mr. Killian, dear Mr. Killian, and I don't really believe in titles myself. So I very politely asked him would he refer to me as Aidan, and because I've no use for the title Mr. And then I asked him, quite clearly, what I wrote was, you have not answered my questions yet. I want to know exactly what you will do to enforce when people refuse to pay for our human right of clean, drinkable water. Will the water be turned off? Will you send a letter notice? Please try and be specific, clear and accurate. Thank you, Aidan. Right? And he said that he wasn't allowed to basically call me. He said he had to follow
protocol.
This is kind of funny. Notwithstanding the fact that we are corresponding via email, your inquiries and the replies issues are in effect external letters. The normal letter conventions regarding to greetings and sign off therefore applies. It doesn't seem to be allowed to call me Aidan. He has to call me Mr. Killian. That's funny, isn't it?
Strange.
He's not allowed. Imagine he's not allowed to think outside the box. So I just wrote back, dear Tony, you like this actually, dear Tony. I'm sure you mean it as a sign of respect, and thank you for that. However, I only use the name Aidan. Is it true that it is your company policy that you must reply with normal letter conventions, or is it a personal choice? If you use the name Mr. Killian again, I accept it as a sign that you love me unconditionally. Right? And then I wrote, as for the water charge, I take from your answer below that a new public water utility company, Irish Water, will be set up, and they will have the power to turn off the water, like electricity or gas companies, and thus the utility company will have the power to kill people who cannot afford the charge or people who choose not to pay it on moral grounds. So the plan is to enforce this charge under threat of death. I advise you to do everything in your power, Tony, to ensure that such a system never happens for the good of the people and the future generations of this country. Regards, Aidan. So that's it. He hasn't responded. I sent that this morning. It's been going on a week or two, but we'll see what he comes back with. Maybe he'll apologise on behalf of the nonsense and remove the fluoride and drop the charge. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. It's I'm looking forward to hearing the outcome of that. Come here, when you hear this one, are you aware that the Minister of Finance, Michael Noonan, attended the Bilderberger Group meeting there in America?
Well, that's good to see that the Irish people are getting in with the rulers of the world. I'm sure he'll represent our country fairly, and he'll say, listen guys, Ireland's not for sale. We have some respect and dignity, and I'd like you guys to back off with your corporatocracy and get the flip out of here, okay?
I'm sure that's what he was saying. More like, which one of our natural resources would you like us to sell this month?
It's kind of amazing. It's good that it made the papers, though, isn't it?
It made the Daily Mail, didn't it?
I wasn't sure what paper. Somebody said that to me on Facebook. I was quite surprised.
I don't think it made the Irish Nationals, did it?
The fact that it's more open, but maybe it doesn't make a difference if it's transparent anymore, because sometimes you can tell people the exact 100% truth, but they have this force field of, I don't know what it is, this force field of cognitive training that does not allow them to hear or see the truth, even though it's right in front of them. They're like, no, I'm not listening. I won't listen. No way. Our government loves us. The media only tells the truth. They're not trying to manipulate anything. Fluoride's good for your teeth.
Yeah, that's
vaccinate me.
A large chunk of the population there, unfortunately, Aidan.
Yeah, for now. I think people are being forced to wake up one way or the other, as far as I can see.
I think so. What do you think of the Venus transit this week?
I don't really understand that stuff, but I just know I can feel something's happening, but I'm not an expert in that area.
Okay, I'll give you a quick breakdown of it there. The idea of the Venus transit, it actually makes the Star of David in the heavens as it moves twice across the sun every 8 years, and outside of the 8 years, it takes 120 something years for that to happen again. So it's a once in a lifetime experience to see a Venus transit, and apparently energetically it's supposed to bind us all together from the heart, and that it's also helping to break down of the ego to herald the new era.
Well, that sounds beautiful. So we're all going to start working together rather than against each other.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, not that we all do. I think the majority of people actually, really, really do have love and compassion. And I think a lot of us are just caught in a system that forces us or, pushes us to enslave and, torture and use greed against one another. But I think the majority of people love people. I think most people are.
Most people do. We're talking about a small minority again, Aidan, at the end of the day, that are going to control a majority of the world's wealth, and resources. And what we propose to do is, and what is already happening, and not just in Ireland but across the globe, is that people are just starting to set up their own little communities and starting to ignore a lot of what's going on externally, and just connecting with people. That's what they're doing now.
Well, absolutely, we're connecting with each other online as well. I know there are some powers trying to cut off our actual internet access, to control the access. But if you look at what's going on, you can see we don't need the media anymore. We can see, there's in Quebec hundreds of thousands of students saying no, we do have a right to protest. You can see what's happening in Egypt. You can see there's stuff going on all over the world. Like right now, this isn't just some little corporate takeover in Ireland. This is the whole world is under attack by corporatocracy is the word I used earlier,
sure.
Or the fiat currency, really. Once we can remove fiat
debt-based currency,
silver or gold, then we're back to kind of, normal trading without being in debt and being stuck in a system that's a load of nonsense. That's Aidan's economic terms. It's a load of nonsense.
But it basically is. It's all based on confidence, the money system. So if you take out the confidence, then you have no money system. The whole thing goes bang, and that's sort of relying on the ability of bond buyers to keep buying, dependent on the movement of the markets, and that's what it's all about, really. At the same time, you have all these derivatives floating out there in cyberspace that are worthless, and they just pretend that they're worth the money that they believe they're worth. Would that be fair to say?
Isn't that basically? That's it. You just say that's this bit of paper is now worth 100 million. That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
That's the same as with a credit card debt. You get a credit card. Let's say they give you 10 grand on it, and you sign that bit of paper, right? And when you sign that promissory note is used to say you can create that money. So they give you the credit. Basically, they facilitate the loan. They give you the credit based on your signature being the asset. But that's the same thing. That's just all fate. What happens if you say, you know what, this is a load of nonsense, I'm not paying that?
Yeah.
Or you say, I don't have it anymore because, well, I've lost everything I have because businesses keep closing and I just don't have it. What then? You lose your credit rating. So what? It's not such a load of nonsense, James. So what if you lose your credit rating? The system doesn't work. It's just a ridiculous concept.
It's not losing your credit rating, it's losing your debt rating.
Yeah. You're right, it is though, but here, picture this. There's a guy, and the guy gets a bar of Snickers for his first time in his life, and he eats the Snickers bar, but then he starts choking, and his eyes swell up, and they call an ambulance, and he's taken to the hospital, and the hospital say, oh, you had a nut allergy, and they save his life, and they tell him you can never eat Snickers again, or you'll probably die. Right. I don't think he's going to want to eat that Snickers again anyway. I don't think that's a problem. I think he realizes he's allergic to nuts or whatever it is, and he won't want it. That's the same way it is with this debt. People have realized this debt is a chain around our neck. We don't want it. We want a new, fair system, and you can keep your silly nuts.
Yeah. We don't want your nuts.
Where's Paul today talking about nuts?
Paul's floating around there. He's in and out of the house. He's got some business to look after.
Tell him I love him.
He's fixing my car actually at the moment.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah, that's very nice of him.
Is it not your vehicle, no?
My vehicle? No, it's definitely not my vehicle. It's my private property. It's my mode of conveyance of the day.
Yeah, mode of convenience. Mode of travelling convenience. I'm going into the Badass tonight for a comedy gig with Phil Kay, who's one of my heroes. I think
seriously, Phil Kay?
Yeah.
Nice one.
Amazing. Watching him perform is just so beautiful. I was in Kerry with him the other day. He he just gets everything, and he just puts it. Do you know what he just talks about what he sees and makes it funny, but it's very real and you feel it. But he was pointing out those Lewis minders, those tough-looking ex-army
with
guys,
with the eye on the back of their jackets.
But I love to see that someone like that notices it straight away. He's only in the country.
Did he pick up on it? Did he? Wow.
Yeah. So
the eye of Sauron.
Yeah, they have the eye and everything. Yeah. Wow. I don't know what to do about that, but sure. Focus on love. Come here. I have a visa problem.
Okay.
No, I don't. I have a visa solution.
Okay. Go on.
I'm firing my bank, right? Because I don't like them anymore. I don't want to deal with them. And there might be an outstanding debt, maybe like an alleged outstanding debt. I'm wondering if there is or not. I don't know, right? But I'd like to fire them, and well, I've written a letter, but I've made the letter fun.
Okay.
It's a fun letter because I think sometimes people get scared writing these letters, but you have to remember they're just your staff, and if they're not doing what you want, well then you need to fire them or let them know that what they're doing. Like, I mean, if I went in for a burger somewhere and the guy was serving me the burger and then he spat in it, I'd say no, thank you, I don't want that burger, and I'm not paying for it. Right?
That'd be alright.
And that's the way it is with the banks. They haven't banked. They haven't been the pillars of society that they were giving the impression that they are, and they've kind of affected society in a bad way. So I don't want to deal with them. So I'm firing them. And if they claim that I owe them any money, well, we'll deal with that when we deal with it.
Exactly.
But so do you know much about Anonymous? Anonymous, the hackers?
Yeah, sure. And I know a small bit about them. The fact that they're anonymous doesn't allow me to know a huge amount about them.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hang out with them and go shopping with them and buy new dresses or anything. But what's interesting to me is like these giant corporations like Sony or Scotland Yard or anything can be infiltrated by like once it was a 16-year-old girl who signed off and said I opened your security, and as far as I can see they're doing a good thing. A lot of people will debate that, but
sure.
As far as I can see, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but one of the things they do is that they often make a reference to Rick Astley. Do you remember him, the 80s singer?
Yeah, you're never going to give me up, never going to let me down.
Never going to let me down, you're never going to hurt me. Right, so they have, I don't know, but there must be like some sort of internal joke that they do, but I'm very amused by things like that. So what I've done is I've written a letter to the bank, but to show how easy it is, because that's too easy to fire the bank and remove the debt, because I know that they can't produce these documents. I'm going to ask for a signed invoice, I'm going to ask for a signed contract. I want them to prove that they're at a loss, and if they are at a loss, I will pay them that money. Bloody right, I'm not going to rip anybody off in this world.
Absolutely not.
But if it turns out that I created the money with my signature, if it turns out that they're not actually at a loss, if it turns out that they're doing something that's not in the best interest of mankind, well, I don't want to be associated with that. So I know how to do those letters, and I think anybody can if you just have the balls to fire them.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is to make it a bit more challenging and more fun for myself. So I'm going to start the first letter with "or" and of the sentence, and then the next sentence with "I," all the way down to Rick Astley, never going to give you up. Right. So that's kind of my little challenge. So I'm writing the whole letter with Rick Astley, never going to give you up. Can you picture it? Is that clear for you guys?
I can, yeah.
So here's where I've got so far, but it's a first draft, Like, I mean, I won't be finishing until probably a few more days. I have a few gigs to do, but I just need to sit down with it for a day. But I've got Rick Astley written, and I've got what I have is I've Rick Astley written twice actually. Rick Astley, but now I'm changing that to Rick Astley, never going to give you up, because I prefer that. So I'll read what I have, and we'll see where it goes.
Go for it.
Reference number. See, reference, starting with an "or." Reference number, blah, blah, blah. I am firing you. I have no desire to do business or contract with you or your company. As a concerned citizen of the world, I've decided to not interact with companies who have knowingly worked against the interest of mankind and the higher good of all. That seems quite clear so far, James, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As your bank has been bailed out by the people of my country, and as you have not yet shown any attempt to right your current dishonour, I demand that you close all of the accounts that are in my name immediately. If you claim that I have any debts owed, please provide me with a lawful, valid signed contract and a signed invoice. You have fiduciary responsibilities to me, and I expect you to produce these documents on demand. If you do not produce these, then I accept that you agree that your company is not at a loss and there is, in fact, no outstanding debt. Right your current dishonours, pay back and apologise to the people of Ireland, and guarantee integrity in all of your actions for the future, as well as providing me with these documents, and I will consider re-employing you in the future.
Brilliant.
Until then, I do not consent to being contacted by you, your company, and know that I do not consent to being threatened or harassed in any way. As a result of the bad reputation garnered by your industry globally, which has been established in so many court cases as a responsible and concerned trust grantor, I'm now calling on you to verify that you fulfilled your trust duties appropriately under penalty of perjury. I also advise you to leave your job and do something that adds high value to the world for your good and for the good of everyone. I do stand under penalty of perjury at all times, do you? Yours sincerely, Aidan.
Very good.
So that's Rick Astley twice in a row. And it's but here's what I really want to do, actually, James. You might be able to help me with this. I kind of want to end with something like, P.S. As you know, also, if you do not produce these documents, I accept that as you giving me the full right to refer to you and everybody in your industry as scumbags. Right, because I know that they can't produce these. Well, I'm pretty sure they can't. If they can, well then fair enough, I'll pay them. But I'm pretty sure from my experience in the banking world that they cannot produce these documents. So when they don't produce these documents and they come to me with some terms and conditions nonsense, which is not what I asked for, not what I demanded, I'll write back, in response to their response. Dear scumbags, do not contact me again. If you do, I will send you a bill and blah, blah, blah. And, I think I'm going to document it and just turn it into a little, something fun. It should be fun. Like, it has to be fun. There's no point getting stressed and worried about these dead entities. We need to have to make it a bit more challenging and entertaining for me.
As Vinny says, if you're not having fun, there's something wrong.
Good man, Vinny. What do you think? What do you think of that? What was your first impression?
I'd say go for it, man. I said, why not? Yeah, it's going to shake it up a small bit. It'll shake up somebody in an office space someplace who would rather be someplace else anyway. So it'd be interesting to see what response you get, and you can come back on the show again and fill us in on how you got on, what sort of response you got back. All
right. Well, we'll see. Sure. You know what? Let's just see what happens.
Sure.
Let's see what happens. Sure. Maybe maybe they'll just produce the documents. They'll say, well, actually, Aidan, we only lend out money that we have, and we guarantee that we'll work with integrity at all times. And maybe they'll tell me, we're very sorry about the bailout, and you know what? We've been working hard, and we have the money, and we're giving it back.
Yeah.
Thank you for your letter to help us to remind us, that we have a responsibility to Ireland and mankind, and maybe that'll be the letter that will wake them up, and that'll be the end of it all.
I think it's possible, man.
Are you convinced?
We'll see.
I don't know, maybe. Like, just I had my hopes up for the election, so I'm getting my hopes up again for that. They're my projects at the moment, so I'm going to send those off. I don't think the water guy is going to send me the money as I requested, so I'll just keep sending him a weekly bill. And,
you just have to live with healthy optimism. That's all you can do.
Healthy optimism. Yeah, I mean, I won't let it disappoint me if they don't pay back all the money to the country. But who knows? Maybe they will. But I'm kind of interested because I think that's I don't know if it's appropriate to call them scumbags. Maybe I'll call them scallywags. I'm not sure, but I think it's kind of interesting to say, if you do not produce these documents, you're giving me permission to call you a scumbag. Because that's kind of like the census is a bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you don't do this, we have. You may get fined £1 million or 25,000 euros or whatever. That's the kind of same thing that I'm doing. If you don't produce this, I may call you scumbag. I call them scumbags anyway, without their permission. I often refer to them as scumbags, the banking industry. I think a lot of people in this country do.
Absolutely.
They've earned that title.
On that note, Aidan, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll have you on the show again in the next couple of weeks. All
right. Be happy, love, and continue spreading butter and the truth.
Thank you very much, Aidan.
All right, bye-bye.